Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining me. Whew, look at me. I know, I got a hair hanging down here. Anyways, welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is Mary Jane Tracy. I am a spiritual love of life coach and coming to you with a 411 today. I guess it's been a hell of a day for people. Um, hey, Dana. Um, yeah, I've what have I been doing? I've been working on a PDF today and working on a weekly planner. That's what I've been doing today. It's taken a lot of time. More time. I hands out kudos to graphic designers and people who do this stuff. I'm learning and it is a huge learning curve that's happening, man. Um just the downloading and then editing because you want to make it your own unique um, thing because you don't want to just copy somebody else's, right? You want to make sure that yours is unique. So doing that, and I know I've done this years ago, and actually, when I did this years ago, it was a lot harder, and then I stopped doing it um, because I was trying to sell things on my own and stuff, and it just wasn't. They weren't selling. Anyways, beside that, uh, so I started this again. Anyways, it's hard. It's not that it's hard. It is thinking of the ideas, getting inspired, doing the editing or critiquing and sizing so it can become very tedious in doing what I'm doing. And the weekly journal I'm doing, plus you want to make it enough that the weekly planner for 2024. That's what I'm working on right now because I want it to look good. I want to add a lot of things in there. It's not a moon journal or anything like that. It's just a basic weekly planner for 2023 that I'm working on now. I do want to do, and I've said this many times before that I do want to do a sort of a witchy journal for it. So this is this is a you got to start in kindergarten before you can graduate. So I'm starting in kindergarten. That's what I'm doing, and working my way up. So today, I'm sending out love and prayers to a lot of people today because there has been a lot of shit shows happening all over the place for people, and I've in between what I'm doing, I've had quite a few emails or not emails, quite a few texts and phone calls today from people. And because of the craziness unexpectedly happening in their life. And the craziness and unexpectedly, I mean, we have right now, oh, we got a lot going on. We're moving up to a Jupiter Sun square, and so the Jupiter is in Taurus and the Sun is in Leo. And this Jupiter Sun square is really pushing a lot of agendas upon people. And of course, Jupiter's in expansion and he wants to be big and he'll expand and he'll expand. So he'll put the pressures on it. And of course, we have Mercury has just gone into shadow. So he is slowing down and will be going retrograde on August 23rd. We also have Venus retrograde right now. So Venus is retrograde and she is out, you know, she's out, she's out. She's just out. She's out for the count, man. Going through the seven doors of hell to get to where she needs to go, and being stripped away of her own self to be reborn. So we have this energy of death and rebirth. We have this energy of slow communication coming in because with Mercury slowing down and it's in Virgo, so it's in its home sign. On information might be starting to slow down. We have Mars just forging ahead because he's saying, fuck you all, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And he's coming into, off an opposition from Saturn to moving towards an opposition to Neptune. So here he is. He's just like, I want to get going. And then he could also get drawn into the drama, drawn into the craziness, the propaganda, the media, and things along. So you wanting to do something, but you're getting drawn into other things that people are pulling you to, or you're discovering these things that are happening within in and around you, and you say, no way, that's bullshit. Why are you following that? Like, why are you listening to that? So we're discovering different situations within our own lives, within other people's lives who are close to us, and either coming not so much to the rescue, but coming to where you are able to say, hey, that's bullshit, or calling it out for other people who may have not seen it before, right? Or were unaware that it was there. And then, of course, then craziness is coming out. Also finding out within your own self that I don't need to take this bullshit anymore. Why am I taking this? Why am I not standing up for myself? Why am I not doing the things that I want to do for me? And that's not being narcissistic. That is not being, rude or cruel or anything. That's taking, as I said, with Black Moon Lilith coming in, taking that sip of self-love and standing in your self-love, standing in your power of self-love. Because when you are able to do that, that means that people love it. People love it when you put boundaries up. That all of you who have raised children know kids need boundaries. When you let a kid just fuck off and go ahead and do whatever, and you like, you see them, right? You see these children running around who are rude, and parents aren't reining them in because they're looking for that. They're looking for that, right? They're looking for that structure to have in their life. And many people don't have that structure in their life, or it's been, or the opposite is that the structure is so restrictive, they're looking at how to break the fuck out, right? So we're having this energy that's coming in. It's like either there's not enough structure or there's overly too much. And I think we're in a time where people have had so much structure in their life, they're trying to grasp for that because they have to now make that structure up for themselves, take that responsibility for themselves, but they're finding it difficult. And of course, we have this energy that's coming in where Pluto in Capricorn is raising up a lot of these structures, right? Raising this up. Spent the morning with the neighbors, their kids run all over them and tail wagging the dog. Not on my watch. The kids, and that's the thing. You see that, and it's like, no, this is what you need to do, right? You need you need respect. And that's the whole thing. Is that because Neptune is causing such illusions in the world and the propaganda and the media and stuff, and it makes you go down the opposite end, where you don't bring in structure, you don't, because you might offend somebody, you might get somebody upset. Well, it comes to a point that, you know what? Too bad. If you're offended, that means you got to look at something with inside your own self, because I'm not offended, you're offended. And when we have a society like that, we're seeing the breakdowns. We're seeing how things are breaking down within society. Like, don't talk about immigration. And I'll talk about immigration. I get in trouble for talking about immigration all the time. It's like, oh, yeah, prejudiced. No, I'm not prejudiced. It's like, my husband is an immigrant. My family, my father was an immigrant. My father is firstborn Canadian, right? So it's not that I don't like immigration. I want the rules and the boundaries for the immigration, right? There's got to be a way of bringing the people in so that it is cohesive for everybody else here, not just to downpour a whole bunch of people into the country and hope for the fucking best. That's wrong. That's like letting a toddler loose in a candy store and saying, hey, I hope for the best. I hope everything works out okay there. Because you got a kid high on sugar. That's where you get corruption. That's where you get crime. That's when you get people who are unsafe. Right now, in England, crime, I mean, it's starting here too. Crime rate is crazy. A friend of mine, he went from the Isle of Man and he went to Liverpool, and he took the ferry over to Liverpool. Him and his wife were going to go camping and go travel around travel around England and go camping and stuff. And they went from Liverpool, they drove to Coventry, and their van was stolen and all the possessions were stolen out of their van. The thing is that it wasn't just that they parked on the side of the road. A gang came up to their car and forcibly took them out of their car, out of their van, and took the van. They called the police. The police eventually came, right? And long story short, the police knew who it was, described the car these guys were in, described how many guys there were there, but they didn't do anything because of the law. The law is allowing people to get away with things without any repercussions. If they get caught, it's basically a slap on the hand. It's saying, don't do that again, and it goes on your record. The next time it could be a fine. They lost over $5,000 worth of items, and it wasn't insured within their van insurance, nor was it underneath their house insurance. So they lost that. The insurance agency was trying to screw them over because the insurance agency said they just bought the van 6 months ago. They were going to give them half the amount. Now, that didn't go over too well because he's not a stupid man to get the full amount for his van. Long story short, their vacation was shortened, and they went down to London because they had to get new credit cards, everything else, get everything canceled and stuff like that, and get everything in order. So, but the thing is that within the last year, crime rate for theft has risen 25% in the last year in the UK. Now, if you look at the United States right now, crime rate is just out of control. Stores are closing in places like San Francisco, Portland, Seattle. People are not wanting to go to Seattle. And that's because there's no boundaries. There's no repercussion, because the illusion of it is we don't want to offend these poor people. And oh my goodness, if we do, what are we going to do? Well, no, they need a repercussion. There needs to be boundaries, because now what you're doing is that you're hurting many other people along the way, because you're allowing the few to get away with shit. And this is where the dismantlement, this is where we start to see the frustration come up. And it comes up within our own lives in little things where you see either you go to work, like where I'll take my own, I won't throw the other people, what happened with them. But for myself, when I sit back and I look at everything that I did for that, for the company, and I worked all this overtime and blah, 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 I'm just like, holy shit, I allowed myself to be used. And I take that responsibility. I allowed it to happen instead of standing up and saying, no, this is bullshit and I'm going home. Right? This is the boundaries. Need to live in Japan. No spitting on the street, even tolerated. Well, Dana, I'll just have to let you know, Japan is having a hell of a time right now because their infrastructure and everything is crashing on them, because their economy is going down the tubes. They are right now, the United States are praying to God that they're not going to sell all the US bonds, because they hold quite a few of them. If they do sell off the US bonds onto the world market, nobody's going to buy them right now, just the way that things are moving. And it'll be the United States that will have to buy up their own bonds again, and that'll cause hyperinflation, which will cause to us too. But yes, you're right about Japan. Restrictions. There's respect. Okay. These are the things that are going on, and it's happening everywhere. And we have to start looking at how we personally are not taking responsibility for our own selves. What in our life that we need to start putting restrictions on and putting boundaries up, because it has to start with us. It has to start with how we come together, how we treat our own selves, how we drink from the cup of self-love. when it starts with us and then it goes out. It is where the dismantlement and the crumbling is happening right before our eyes. And we are going to be witnessing it more and more and more. And in witnessing it more and more and more, we will feel the frustration. We will feel the overwhelmness. We will feel the anxiety of it. But we need to sort of foster tools for ourselves so that we are able to stay in our light, to stay in our power. And this is going to be one of the biggest struggles, the biggest work that we're going to have to do in our lifetime is staying in our power. Because we're going to start seeing now the biggest push right now will be climate change. This climate change shit. And I stated a few years ago that about lockdowns with climate change, they're going to try and do some form of lockdown, which, the 15-minute cities and things like that. So they're going to be doing a huge push, and you're going to start seeing it, especially over the winter, on climate change and pushing a agenda on climate change. You're going to be starting to see that, and more about that's going to be coming out within the news and within the government sanctions and things like that. So they're wanting to put over restrictions. Now that's the opposite side of putting over restrictions, where they're restricting you from not allowing you to be, standing in your power, to be that unique individual. And we're going to start witnessing more and more of that as this year goes on, and especially when Pluto will begin its will go forward. I think it's in October, November. It's in November. We'll start going forward again, and then once Pluto goes forward again, within 6 months it goes backwards again. So we're going to start seeing all of this come up within. So it's a regurgitation of what has been happening over the last 3 years. There's going to be a regurgitation of that information to try and stifle people, try to stop you, chokehold you in some way. So we have this energy that's really battling, and there's a fight. And then the fight, you feel that fight within inside yourself. You feel that energy within inside yourself, because we're all connected. We're all connected on this earth, right? The butterfly effect. We're all connected. So when we're having this strife over here and a strife over there, and then we're allowing, craziness to go rampant, we start to feel an overwhelmness. We start to feel that we have no control. And that's where the propaganda comes in. That's where they catch you, because you are now in their hands, because there's a belief that you have no control, yet you do. You do. You control your thoughts. You control your being. When you begin to control your thoughts and stand in power with your thoughts, and if that fear comes in, it's cut, clear, delete, get the fear out of here. Or I'd say cut, clear, delete, get the fuck out of here. When you start saying that 1,000,001 times a day, you start standing more in that power and start grabbing hold of, this is what I want to believe in. These are the thoughts I want to bring forth into me, to bring in the harmony and peace. The more we start doing it, the more of that vibration goes out. It's a practice, but it's a fucking tough practice. And right now, I know with, the scenarios that people are going under, and that belief system is catching people and getting them caught into a catch-22. I was listening, I can't remember who it was. And anyways, they said, if you work for a paycheck, you'll always be poor. And I thought, interesting. If you work for a paycheck, you'll always be poor. When you work for yourself, you can become rich, as long as you build the business, not for the money, but for the business. Then you get money, something like that. Anyways, I probably misquoted. But the concept of basically of standing in your power to build what it is that you need to build. If you've never read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I really advise reading it. You can get it, downloads for free, all over the place. Rich Dad, Poor Dad really brings in the scenario of the rich dad worked for a great job, government job, school teacher, lived in a fabulous house, the whole bit. The poor dad was worked on a pineapple farm and was the foreman of a pineapple farm. But the poor dad was the one who learned how to invest his money, how to diversify, and how to give back to the community. And he was the rich, and the poor dad was the rich dad, and the rich dad was the poor dad, because the rich dad was the one who paid more taxes, was always in some kind of debt. He was in house debt, because using the house as a ATM basically to make sure that their family had what the world thought they needed. This is where a reverse of thought, a reverse of thinking comes in, of everything that has been taught to us, to begin to think in a new way. And in thinking in that new way is scary, because we're letting go of these old beliefs that are there, and they hang on to us like little strings to pull us back. And when they hang on to us like these little strings, these little hooks that are in us, we don't want to let them go, because it's uncomfortable and it hurts. But it's in trusting in the new way. It's in trusting in your new thoughts. It's in trusting in this new step. It's just like me doing this PDF right now. Man, I'm hoping I'm doing it right. But it's formulating it, finding one, adjusting it, making it my own, finding different clip art and making sure the clip art is commercial. I can use it commercially, and creating something. And in that creation, yes, it's like 5:00. I've been working on this off and on since this morning. But in creating it, there's a satisfaction because I'm creating it. And then, of course, there's work behind it, because once you create it, I got to let people know what I just created. I got to put it out there. I got to, put it on my social media, utilize what platforms I have, and then hopefully people buy it and write good reviews about it. And, because you're putting it out into the universe, you're putting that energy out. This is what I'm going to create. That's with everything that we do. Sometimes it's going to work. Sometimes it's not going to work. But it's that effort that you do in order to create. It's that effort that you do, the steps that you do in order to create. And you can't rush it. You got to start in kindergarten. You got to start in grade A, at A, before you can go to Z. So whatever you're starting, whatever newness that you're starting, you got to start somewhere, right? So don't try and push and think, oh, I can do this overnight. Like, it's like, oh, I want to be a hairdresser. Well, I'm not going to go start cutting people's hair right away. Any volunteers? May not be very good if I don't understand how to layer and feather and all that kind of stuff, right? And different types of hair and textures, right? I started painting for Christmas. Oh, right on, Candace. Yeah. Oh, and you're a fabulous artist too. I've seen some of your art. You're great, and then look at, my mind starts going, because she's like, oh, craft, painting, sale, Christmas. Oh my God, you could make little cards. You could do all of these, get watercolored paper and, paint your little Christmas cards on it and do things like that. Man, sky's the limit, So doing those types of things, creating it, right? And as my butt who got the van stole and stuff, as he said, as he looks at it, it's going to come back to him. Whatever was lost is going to be returned. That's how he looks at it. So whatever was lost, they took it, they did it. I can't get it back. But whatever is lost will be returned to me, and it's going to be returned to me even better. And I love how he looks at it in that way, and it's like, you know what? Somehow these boys or girls, whoever it was, I think it was all boys, just didn't get the proper boundaries around them. Or if they did have the proper boundaries, they certainly decided that maybe wasn't for them, or that the light was better on the other side. You know, it's one of those crazy things, right? So I'm going to pull some cards here for a Saturday evening. But I thought I'd come in and touch base with you all, see how you all are doing. If you are wanting to book a reading, definitely get a hold of me and we'll book you in, get your reading done. The Empress, abundance. So the abundance is there. The Empress card is ruled by Venus and the energies of Venus, of bringing in that abundance and the resources and that. So the abundance is there. It's just the work that we have to do, right? So, and Charlene's out at the lake and she was wondering what I was doing. You're having a great time out there on the lake fishing, girl. She's like, well, where's Mary? So this is where, Archangel Gabriel, listen to the communications that are coming in. Listen to your guidance that is coming forward in order, and it could be something could be anything, right? I didn't think I would be starting to learn this about doing the KDPs. It was something that showed up on my feed and I thought, oh my God, that sounds so interesting. And then I began to do the research. Then I began to look at it. It's just like, okay, this isn't a quick money grabbing thing. This is work. This is something you got to put effort in. This is something that you just can't grab something and then upload it and think it'll sell. This is something that you need to put the energy into. And putting that energy into will help you to create it, because here comes the Six of Michaels. So with this, it's that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, you got to act upon your plans. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but there's work. You got to follow. You got to follow the instructions that you are given. You got to follow that guidance that is given, which is your instructions. You got to listen to it. And as you're listening to it, comes the star. Beautiful star. So the star comes out right after the tower. So this is allowing yourself to believe in yourself, knowing things are going to come to fruition, but you got to act on it. You got to create it. You got to follow the instructions, the step by step. It's one thing that people can go around and say, well, I'm trying to manifest it. Cool. Well, what are you doing? I'm manifesting. Okay. What are you doing as you manifest? Well, I make sure I do my affirmations. I got it up on my altar. I've done some saging and some burning. Okay, now what? Are you acting upon it? What are the actions that you're taking? Mars is in Virgo. What are the action steps? He's in Virgo. It's of service. What am I doing to be of service in order to create this? The action. So you want to take that action. You want to go forward with it, because as you do it, comes the Knight of Raphael, the Knight of Waters, the lover. Oh my God, everybody loves him. He's so adorable. He's committed. He gets everything going. He makes you feel fabulous. So as you do that, it does get your heart going. It does get you fluttering, because now you are finding your passion. You're finding that intuition and you're following it, because you're creating something that you love. So it's time to look into what you want to create. What do you want to do? And putting up your boundaries and staying grounded in your boundaries on how it is that you are wanting to create it. Read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Absolutely fabulous book. Really, I've read it several times. It is a very good book. And The 4-Hour Work Week. These books are old because they're over 10 years old. They're old, but they have a fabulous, fabulous message for us all to this day, and some really great step-by-steps on how to create. What do you want to do to create? What do you want to do to bring forth? And this time, even as Venus is in the underworld, this is a time to really look inwardly to that of what you do want and your passion, and bring it to fruition. So I know it's frustrating. Beware, solar flares are going to be very active over this weekend. So there could be some disruptions and things. Not saying the grid's not going out yet, but there's going to be some influx of energies coming in and out of Gaia. We have a huge meteor shower. One of the largest ones this year is coming this week. So if you are out to see that, that's absolutely fabulous. It's actually one of the strongest ones this year. Yeah, there's a lot happening. I mean, I was just talking about going off on another tangent. I was just talking to Greg and Andrea, and I was talking to them about the eclipses that are coming in, and where, because I talk about the X marks the spot, right? So if you look throughout history, like even John Dees uses 10. The X means 10. I thought it was funny that on Twitter he changed it to X, right? And I thought, oh, okay, X marks the spot. There's a lot of X's coming up. Well, the solar eclipses are an activation when eclipses go over different points. Some are not as poignant as others. Like the eclipse from 2017, the American eclipse that went across the United States. Well, it started in Portland. It hit San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle. 3 cities right now that are having a hell of a time, and went over the Midlands. So in it going over that point, if you look at a lot of those places that that it hit, those are the places that were activated and are having issues at this time. The next eclipse to hit the United States is one in the fall, this fall, 2023, the one in Libra, and it's the southern one, and it goes and it starts on the west coast again, and as it goes across, but it goes down towards Texas and Florida. Now, I've said Texas and Florida are going to have huge issues anyways, because I felt like, my battery's going to die. My battery's going to die on my iPhone. But Texas has had huge problems, and Florida, and you're going to see that they're going to have more problems. The one in the spring, which will be the Aries one, comes from the east coast and goes and crosses and makes an X right across Texas. So it crosses. So the eclipse from the south comes this way, then the other one comes this way, and they cross in Texas. So some crazy shit is going to go down in Texas, especially, well, it's already started, but there's going to be more that's going to be happening next year in that area. So there's things that are going to be erupting, we'll say, that is going. The one that happened in 2019 was the one that went over Wuhan. No explanation for that one. All right. And that was an activation just as it went over Wuhan. So we have these activations that are happening in the world. These activations are not to scare you, but the activations are here to awaken you and say, hey, this is what we need to be doing. This is how we need to be acting and standing in our power and our light. Because through this all, great light, great energies are coming in to awaken a lot of people and to get us motivated and moving. Whew. There you guys go. I want you all to have a fabulous Saturday night. I'm going back to my PDF and talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Have a great evening. And may the Lord and the Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you. And may the Lord and Lady watch over and bless you. Oh, that's it. Grid your loins. Yes, grid your loins. Yes. Have a great one, everybody. Love you all, and we will talk to you tomorrow sometime. Bye-bye.